Good evening, everybody. Eric in the garden this evening, finally going about the process of deadheading. I've got a lot of beautiful blooms and they look good from a distance, especially this hot princess. If you're watching it from your window, doesn't look too bad. But as you get closer, and even from my window, this Gemini obviously passed the time when I should deadhead it or remove the spent blooms. So what is that all about? What it is these roses will cycle anywhere from 35 to 55 days. And what that means with this Randy Scott, if I were to remove these blooms, roughly, in Randy's case, probably 40 to 50 days from now, a new set of blooms will come. So if you remove the old blooms, a couple things happen. Number one, this bloom cycle will be much quicker. So instead of waiting sometimes an additional week or two, like if you look at this Gemini, really probably 2 weeks ago I could have removed these blooms and I could start that process on that window. And I said 35 to 55 days. It depends on how many petals the rose has. Something like Gemini, Double Delight, not a lot of petals, probably 35 to 42 days. Something with more petals like the Affirm there or Uncle Joe, it might be up toward 55 days. So regardless, 35 to 55 days after the bloom dies and you remove it, you'll have a new set of blooms. So if you remove these blooms right away, so instead of waiting until they're like this and you do it when they start to fade, you just want to clip them off, then that will speed the process up. So that's one benefit of removing your old blooms. The other one is disease. These roses that are past their peak have some botrytis in them, and that can spread in the garden. So from a sanitary perspective, you want to remove those blooms. So those two big advantages are, again, increase your cycle time, essentially bring blooms on quicker in your garden, and keep your garden sanitary and clean, away from diseases. You might say, well, Eric, I just don't have time. What if I let them get to be like that? What will happen? Mother Nature will take course. Even if you don't deadhead it, look very carefully down to the first set of leaves. You can see this shoot coming out. It will be slower. If I were to have removed this shoot would have come out maybe 10 days prior. So it will happen on its own with Mother Nature. And a lot of times folks say, should I be the first set of 3 leaves or 5 leaves? I don't worry too much. I usually just cut the tops off and let Mother Nature take its course, especially in the summertime. Show season, yes, maybe I go down farther on the cane to a set of 5 leaves and I want a nice, strong, healthy cane. But in the summertime, I'm trying to save leaves. So all I'll do is I'll go to the top where the, where right below the base of where the rose is done blooming, and I'll just cut that off. And you can see even here on this Gemini, there's more that are coming along. So that's the long and short of it in terms of deadheading. I have a more detailed video, as you can tell from the garden, have a lot to do. Got some nice blooms over here on Let Freedom Ring. Gorgeous blooms despite the summer heat and the lack of rainfall we've had. That bush is looking good. So something like that, I'll certainly leave on there to enjoy. This is Zach Noble's. I'll maybe keep those on and cut something like that off. You'll notice I just let it fall on the ground. That is not what I usually let happen. I have a paper bag with me and I discard all those blooms in there, because if we're going to be sanitary, we don't want them falling on the ground. So these petals that have already fallen, I'll clean those up, but that's what you want to prevent. You want to remove these before they get to this this stage where they're just falling on the ground, because all those petals can harbor spores for disease down the road. So if you're really quick and you remove them at this stage, then you won't have to worry about petals falling in the garden. That's it for this evening. It's a nice evening, so I'm going to try to get more work done. All the roses in the pots are now in the garden. I'll have that update in addition to the drip irrigation, but check out that deck bare of potted roses, and that's because they're all in the beds. Most of them are weeded and the drip irrigation has been running. So I'll do a couple more videos this week showing you the finished installation of the drip now that it's done, and show you some of these new roses that were on my deck and they are now in the garden. Hope everybody had a great weekend, and I'm going to get some of these dead roses off my bushes. Take care.